to get comfortable. I'm going to start in chair today, but if you're on the floor, if you need to grab blankets to sit on, by all means do, so that you're comfortable in your hips. And let your legs do what you need to do. If you like to cross your legs, if you like to stretch your legs out, or bring the soles of your feet towards each other. Remember, you have blocks. You can kind of support if you need to support underneath your legs to let your hips feel good. Just lengthen up. Let yourself just enjoy feeling the top of the head, easily reaching upward. You feel space in the back of your throat, really. So, so you're not tilting your chin up, but you're also not tucking it way down. Feels really easy. Feel your head floating up there on top of your spine. And start to be with your own breath. Watching your breath, coming in and going out through your nose. See if you can let your breath come into your belly. Comfortable to come towards those three-part breaths. You can inhale into your belly, into your ribs, all the way up into your chest. Release our arms on out beside us here now. So if you're on the floor, fingertips can lightly touch the ground. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together to be in front of our chest. And then we'll reverse and inhale our hands right on up through the midline of the body. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. Good. Let's inhale our arms forward and make a nice big circle. Forward with the arms, up overhead, and then way back behind you if you can, letting the fingertips come down again. And then we'll reverse and reach back behind ourselves first, up and over the top, and then bringing the arms on forward and down. And then from here, just start to move a little bit with your breath, letting your exhales bring you forward with a nice long back, and your inhales bring you back up. So keeping your back long. Was that thunder?
Yeah.
Wow, not construction noise, thunder. So let yourself just easily feel the exhales bringing you forward and the inhales bringing you back up. Keeping that length of the spine. You know, try to let yourself still feel that sense of the back of your head being in line with your spine, so you're not leading with your chin lifting up or tucking your chin way down. You feel really good about your head being in line with your spine and moving with your breath. Good. And then finish off, back all the way upright again here now. And let's, if you're on the floor, stretch your right leg long. Remember, I'm not going to mirror. Going to cross your left ankle above your right knee, if you can, into that figure four. You know, if that bothers you, you don't need to cross over. You can put your foot to the inside or lower the ankle down lower on your own leg there. And now come a little bit forward here. And if you can, put your hand, your right hand there on your left foot. Press your left ball of your foot into your hand a little bit, engaging into your hip. Whether you come forward an inch or more, you know, releasing into that hip for yourself. And take your time. Good. One more breath here. See if you can kind of give your toes a little squeeze with your fingers. You can kind of wrap your hand over the top of your toes and squeeze them a little bit. And then make your way on back up. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, twist to your left, bringing your right hand on around towards that left knee or the shin. Doesn't matter how far around you go. Lengthen up. Space in the back of the throat here. more inhale. And let your exhale draw you back around in the center. And we are going to switch legs here. So take your time. Coming to the other side. Again, as you stretch out this left leg, obviously you're going to get into your hamstring a little bit there. Let your knees and your toes face up on that long leg. And then again, as you ease your way forward, take your time. You can put your hand again on your foot if you're able to do that. Press the ball of your foot into your hand a little bit, feeling that engagement up into your right hip. Bring your breath to where you need it. Good. One more breath here. And if you can, again, if you can like kind of let your fingers squeeze your toes a little bit, do. And then we'll come on back up. Take a nice inhale here at the top. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our right. So again, how far around you come in this twist, where you bring your left hand, totally up to you. Lengthening up through the top of your head. Good. One more breath. And now use your belly to bring yourself on back around into center. And let's uncross our legs and stretch our legs out, whether we're on the floor or in our chair, and flex through our feet. And then just pedal the feet. Let one foot point and one foot flex. It doesn't matter which one. And just let yourself switch back and forth a little bit. And see if you can really feel. I mean, watch your feet, right? Really feel that you're coming to those flexions fully and to the pointing of your foot as fully as you can. So you really feel the release to the top of the feet. You feel your legs, obviously, your thighs, the backs of your legs. Good. And then finish off and let yourself release on down. And now bring your hands behind you. Your legs are still long if you're on the floor. And see about just opening your chest. Now, if you're in your chair, you can just drape over the back of the chair there with your arms, right? If you're reaching back to the floor, either come to fingertips, or you can lay all, go all the way down onto your palms if you feel good to do that. Opening through the front body here. Now, be mindful of your neck. You might want to kind of look forward for a second. It might feel good to start to rise your chin up a little bit, to look up higher, or it might not. So just be mindful of how your own neck feels. We're going to come on back up from there and let your arms float on out into a T position here now. And then turn your palms up. Let yourself feel the shoulders soften down even more when you do that. And then inhale the arms all the way up overhead. And let your exhale bring your hands right down through the midline to be in front of your heart. Good. And we're going to unfold our arms on down beside us. Shake out a little bit if you need to move through your legs, do. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. And if you don't need to be up on your wrists, don't do it. So if you need to come onto fists, if you need to get blocks to come underneath your hands, or even go down to your forearms to move into cat-cow. If you're having wrist issues, hands problems there. And then, of course, if you don't want to be on your knees, stand up. Let your hands be up higher on a seat of a chair. Or use a blanket under your knees. And then just start to take your time, letting yourself move through your cat-cows. Letting that tailbone initiate, flowing through the back. And, you can be in the mood to go really, really slowly, or you can be in the mood to let yourself move a little faster. Just let it feel good and natural. Like you're just flowing through your back. Very easy. Good. And finish off the one you're on. We'll meet back in neutral spine. So you get back to a more neutral spine here now. And then we'll come into our lunges, stepping our left foot forward and our right foot back. And to come into a lunge, how high your hands are, it's totally up to you. Up on the blocks, the highest height, or the middle, or the lowest, or hands up onto a chair. Just be really mindful of getting into that front knee being bent no further forward than your ankles, so you're not putting undue stress on your knee. And let yourself open up through the back of that right leg. switch legs. So how you want to do that is totally up to you. You can step back or you can step forward and then back with your left foot. And again, remember, get lined up there with that front knee. Feel the left heel reaching directly behind your foot. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears and start to feel now your whole body coming into your lunge, into the pose. Good. We're going to switch again. So remember, your feet are a little apart like you're on very narrow railroad tracks, which for some of us makes it easier to want to lift up a little bit. If you want to bring your left hand or forearm up to your thigh, you can. And if you're not, don't do it. Keep your hands down. I know some of you like to lift both up. It's up to you. And then we're going to switch again. So coming to the other side. Again, getting that little bit of width between your feet. Kind of gives you a little bit easier to balance there if you do want to lift up your right hand or forearm, or if you want to bring both up, right? Take your time. This feels good about coming into your legs and your hips. And then we'll bring hands back down so we can step forward and come on into standing forward bend. So feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be mindful, adjust the width of your stance if you need to, where you feel really good to be. Use whatever support helps you come into a forward bend. So if you know that your back needs support, use what you need. So elbows above your knees can support you with a longer back there. Or you can have your hands on the chair or forearms on the chair. If you're releasing all the way forward, just be mindful of letting yourself not lock your knees. So you want to feel that sense of, you can have your knees a little bent, you can have them straight, but you don't want to lock up into your knees there. Just let the weight of the torso help the backs of the legs in a nice, easy stretch. Feel the weight of your head if you can. And let your face be soft. Watching your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And then we'll let our hands now rise on up to our hips. Bend your knees, press into your feet, rise on up to standing, and inhale your arms all the way out and up. And let your exhale bring your hands right down to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. So coming into your mountain pose, you adjust however you need. If you need to start looking at your feet, go right ahead and do it. And let yourself bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest. Spread your fingers a little bit. Feel that connection of each finger and your palms, whatever part of your palms touch, and your thumbs. And let your elbows just soften down. Feel that sense of lengthening upward through the top of your head. And once the pelvis gets aligned, once your tailbone reaches down towards between your heels, you realize you're not tucking forward with your tailbone, but you're not letting it reach way, way back, right? That once the pelvis gets lined up, it's very easy to let the body get stacked up. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. And whether your eyes are opened or closed, bringing your gaze on out as though you're looking at the horizon. Feeling the feet equally into the floor. And then unfolding our arms right on down beside us. We'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bend our knees as we come forward from the hips, coming into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. You put your hands wherever you want. On your legs, your thighs, your shins, on your chair or your blocks. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge here. So let your shoulders draw down away from your ears and really enjoy feeling as you press the feet a little away from each other, feeling that action up into your hips. And we're going to come into downward facing dog pose. You know, your dog, up to you. Whether your hands are on the floor, the blocks, or the chair. Just remember, if you're on the blocks, they can get tippy. Reach back through the sitting bones. Feel the hands equal on the surface they're on. So spread your fingers as best you can. I know that's harder on the blocks. Walk a little bit in your dog. If it's okay for you to bend a knee at a time, do. Good. And then come on back into your full dog. Remember, your knees can be bent in dog. That's fine. We're going to come on out towards plank. Now, you know, you don't have to do a full plank. You can go down to your forearms and do a forearm plank to get out of your hands. You can put your knees down and do a half plank if you want. And you can, if you like, bend your elbows. Do little tiny push-ups. Go all the way down to the floor if you want. You know, just let yourself be where you can, or stay in that plank. Just really finding the core strength there. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. So sometimes you need to adjust when you come from dog to plank and back again. And we're going to bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. So if you're on the floor, you might want to put your left knee down, or maybe even both knees down to get that right foot forward and through. Good. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And then just be mindful, again, of your own back as you come into whatever support you need. If you like to hold your elbows, because that feels just great, you can let your hands drift up to your elbows and feel that full kind of tractioning of the spine, feeling the weight of your head and your arms. And feel the breath coming in and going out through your nose. See if you can let your inhales and exhales feel pretty close to the same length. Like they're equally important. Obviously they are. You couldn't have one without the other. So if you can just be aware of letting the breaths be deep and full, but pretty even. And then we'll release our hands back up to our hips, press into our feet as we rise up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's reverse our arms. Inhale our hands right up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms like wings as you bend your knees to come forward into standing forward bend. And let your next inhale again help you find that long, flat back, that tabletop back. And this time, left foot comes back into lunge. And here we are going into second Sun Salutation. So really getting everything in the body warmed up here. Take a nice inhale and exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So as you come into your dog, again, be mindful. If you need to bend your knees or walk your dog a little bit, do, or any kind of movement that feels good, you know. You might want to wag your tail around a little bit. You might want to, ease your way into feeling that length back through your sit bones equally, so you're equally long through the sides of your body. Good, and then we're going to come on out again towards that plank. Again, it is optional whether you come down onto forearms or you put your knees down and do a half plank. Or maybe you feel like staying in your plank or doing a little bend of your elbows or doing a full push-up there. Take your time. And then we're going to make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So remember, elbows are just gently hugging like you have a beach ball there, inward, to hold that beach ball there between your elbows. So you can feel your shoulders find a really good place here. And this time the left foot will come forward to find lunge. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears now. See if you can feel your whole body in your lunge. And we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Go right to your breath, whatever support you need. See if you can let yourself release through your jaw. Maybe even letting your lips just lightly touch, but letting your teeth separate a little bit. And we'll release our hands now back up to our hips. Bend our knees and rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now unfold your arms on down and clasp your hands behind you. So you let your arms be fairly long. Your elbows are not locked, but your arms are pretty long. They're hanging down. Feel what your pelvis is doing. You've got your hands right there, so you can tell if you're tucking your tailbone forward or letting your belly hang out or your ribs hyperextend there in the front. So once you feel comfortable, bring your hands over to the right. Let your left forearm kind of fold onto your low back. And then squeeze your right palm into your left. So you let yourself really squeeze your hands together. Feel your fingers squeezing inward too. Your thumbs. Feel this action up into your biceps and your shoulders. Good. And then leave that left arm there. Release your right arm down. And inhale it all the way out and up overhead. And then see if you can bend the elbow there. And this hand might go any number of places. Your right hand might have to go on top of your head, behind your neck, onto your upper back. I know some of you will just be itching to get your hands to try to reach towards each other. That is so not for everybody's shoulders, right? So if you feel really uncomfortable in this bottom shoulder, don't even keep that arm there, right? And really, it's that bottom arm that often is a little bit deeper in this stretch, not quite so comfortable, right? We're going to release, let both arms come on down, and clasp our hands again together here. For a second, bend your knees and come like you're coming into chair pose, but think about as you do that almost like you're leading a little bit with your chest. So your hips shift back. You can go a little deeper if you want. Feel your quads engaging. Let yourself just enjoy opening across your chest. You've got that natural curve here in your low back. And then press into your feet and rise on back up. We're going to slide the hands to the left. And then again, and as you let that right forearm be on your low back, see if you can squeeze your palms towards each other. Squeeze your fingers. Let yourself enjoy feeling your biceps, both of them. Be aware of both your biceps, both your shoulders. Good. And then let your left hand release down. And again, if you have to unfold that right arm, do. As the right arm comes up and you decide to bend it, it is totally up to you where you go, right? You might have to go elbow more forward or out. Don't do anything that hurts. And again, if you're just like, oh, I love to let my hands come closer together, keep your gaze forward. Even if you're not bringing the hands together, keep your gaze forward. Let yourself feel this openness across your chest. One more breath. And then we're going to unfold both arms again, on down beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend again. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And we're going to walk right into a down dog from here. Put your hands wherever you like. Whatever you like to use for support. Reach your way back. Good. And on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank. It is totally optional to do any kind of back bend here. You can come down to the floor if you're on the floor and do a Sphinx or a Cobra. Or you can let your pelvis come on down, your chest come through, and come into an up dog here if you choose to. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Remember, those are optional back bends. Walk in your dog a little bit. Take your time. We're going to do that same thing again. So next inhale, come on out towards the plank. Optional back bend is here. So you can come down to the floor, come up into a Sphinx or a Cobra. You can come through for an up dog if you choose. And then we'll make our way again back into downward facing dog pose. Good. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward. And again, however you need to get that right foot forward or lunge, knee or knees down. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be mindful. Whatever you need to do. Elbows above your knees. If you don't want to let yourself You know, fold over your legs. By all means, don't do it. Remember, we're all different. How this feels in our backs, how it feels in our hamstrings. You don't want to force it. You just want to let the pose help you find as much release as you can. All you got to do is breathe and watch your breath. Easy breaths in and out. Good. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips as we press into our feet. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down as the top of our head floats up higher. So it's almost like you feel so lightheaded now, right? Feels good. You can have your eyes open. You know I love to close my eyes in mountain, but of course, eyes open, looking out like you're looking at the horizon is fine. Let yourself then feel almost like you could float off the floor. Once the energy starts flowing through the body, we've got all warmed up here now. It almost feels like you could just float a little bit up off the floor. But now ground down through your feet again. Feel your feet in the floor. Imagine you're pushing the floor away from you with your feet a little bit. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us and shake out whatever you need to. You can walk around too if you need to move through your feet, do. And we're going to come into some warrior. We'll start with warrior 2. So have your blocks handy if you don't have a chair. And if you do, you might want to turn it around to have the back of the chair face you. We're going to step our right foot back. Get your heels lined up for warrior 2, right? So left foot is about parallel to the long edge of your mat. And your right foot is about parallel to the back edge. It can go at an angle if your knee and your ankle and your hip are okay back there to do that. And then take your time. For a second, just let yourself release your hands down to your thighs. And start to bring your gaze to the left, like you're drawing your left shoulder a little forward, your right shoulder a little back. Right? So that'll make it easy when we get ready to float the arms up and out into warrior 2 arms. So floating the hands up, maybe a tad bit higher than your shoulders, letting your shoulders soften down. And then bringing your gaze right out over the top of that left hand. If you need to let it go a little bit lower, do, where you feel really good in your neck. Feel your feet equal in the floor. See if you can just gently imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet, so you feel a little more up into your hips there. We're going to turn our left palm up, and we're going to fold our right arm behind us, if we can. If not, just lay the hand on your right leg. And inhale your left arm up into reverse warrior. Now you can go straight up towards the ceiling, feeling lots of space between the ribs. You can even reach a little further back into a bit of more of a curve if you want to. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come into side angle. So you can bring your left hand or your forearm onto your thigh there. And just bring your right arm, kind of swing it up in front of your chest, in front of your face. If you can bring it up into line with the right side of the body, do. And if you're like, no, my arm and my shoulder don't do that, then keep your hand down. It's fine. Letting yourself come to where you can, lengthening through both sides of the body here now. And feel that sense of a long line down the right side of the body. All the way to the outside edge of that left heel from your fingertips there. Good. We're going to come back to warrior 2. Let your feet press gently away from each other. Soften your shoulders down. Good. And then we'll bring our hands down, and we're going to come into lunge. So you may decide you want to use your blocks. You may want to use a chair. You may want to use the floor. Come into your lunge here now. We're going to add a twist. So as you keep your right hand grounded and you bring your left hand up to your left hip, and roll that shoulder up. Try to stay fairly level here in your hips. So you don't want to drop way, way down into that right side, which kind of throws your heel off too back there behind you. And then if you want to lift your left arm up, you can. You don't have to. So that twist is in the middle of the back. Enjoy feeling like your head is a part of your spine. Good, and we'll bring our hand on back down, coming on back into lunge. And we'll step forward from here and get our feet right underneath us. Bend your knees quite deeply for a second and bring your elbows above your knees. And let yourself just enjoy. Lengthening your spine out a little bit here, but letting yourself release your hips. Good. One more breath. And then bring your hands on up to your hips as you come on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, we'll let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So find your mountain pose again. Find that lightness in your head. Sometimes it's fun to sway back and forth, side to side. Sometimes it just feels really good to let yourself sort of allow the body to find its way into that point of being very centered. Just finding that quiet sense of balance and strength and quietness in your mountain pose. And then we're going to unfold our arms on down beside us again. Shake it out. We're going to come to the other side here now. So if you're using your chair, your blocks, get them repositioned. We're going to step the left foot back and come into Warrior Two, thinking of lining up the heels. And look at that left foot about parallel to the back edge of your mat, right? About. You know, that's not exact. You can send it back further if you're allowed, if your leg allows you to do that. And then bend your right knee and check out your knee alignment there as well, while that right foot is parallel to the long edge of your mat. And then again, bring your hands down, let your gaze come up, and then let that left shoulder draw back a little bit. And you're really looking out over your right shoulder. It's drawing out over that front thigh. And again, when you float the arms up, really let them float all the way up as high as you can. And then get them into that spot where when you look out over the top of your right hand, it feels great. You're not lifting your chin up. You're not bringing your chin way down. There's this perfect spot where you feel length in the back of your neck and your throat. Press your feet gently away from each other. Find that power and strength of your Warrior Two. Good. And from here, bring your left arm down. Now, if you can fold it behind you, do. Turn your right palm up and inhale and reach up towards the ceiling. You don't have to go far. You can go straight up or a little bit forward of up, or you can go a little bit backward of up. Breathing into that side. And on the next exhale, we'll come into side angle. So again, it is your right hand or forearm that comes down. Maybe you want to use your chair. If you can swing that left arm up in front of your chest and your face and bring it up into line with the left side of the body, do. If not, don't. Keep the hand down. Find that long line through the left side of the body, but you know, you're not collapsing in the underside either. Nobody is. Good. One more breath. Extended side angle. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two. Pressing the feet gently away from each other. Soften your shoulders down. Feel like your arms are growing out of your back. And then let the hands come on down, and we're going to turn again into that lunge. So your hands might want to come to blocks. They might want to come to a chair. You can use any height you want. You know that. You can be up on the back of the chair. You don't have to go even lower than that. And then to add that twist, right hand comes to the right hip, and you can roll that shoulder up. And again, try to stay fairly level right here where your hand is on your sacrum. And adding that arm is totally optional, right? This is different feeling on the shoulder than a lot of things that we do, bringing the arm up. So take your time. Good. And then we're going to release to bring our hands back down. And we're going to step forward again and get our feet right underneath us. Take your time. Let yourself actually separate your feet to the outside edges of your mat. And then bring your elbows again above your knees. And let yourself really enjoy. Flatten your back out if you can so that you come kind of parallel to the floor. It's a squat, right? It's not going all the way down, but it is certainly a squat, and it certainly relieves the hips and the back. Good. We're going to bring our hands up above our knees, press our way up to standing from there. And then just bring your feet together, walk around a little bit. And we're going to come into Warrior One this time. So if you're using your chair, let the seat of your chair be turned to face you. And if you don't have a chair, get your blocks and let them be to the front of your mat to the highest height. All right? So we're going to come forward, and actually we're going to do this a couple of times. We're going to have our feet under us, And then we're going to take a step backward into warrior one. So front-facing warrior, right? So you're going to shift your weight to your left foot, bring your right foot back. Now when you get the right foot back there, if you're like, oh my goodness gracious, that doesn't feel so good, that's okay. Just kind of take a breath here. And then we're going to make ourselves come all the way back forward. Shift our weight all the way back to our 2 feet, right? And now we're going to do that again. So maybe you want to be less long, maybe you want to be longer, right? So when you do step back with your foot, let yourself take your time, then you can readjust, because this time we're going to stay in warrior one. So if you need to widen your stance, if you feel unbalanced, having your feet a little farther apart the wide way really helps. That angle of that back foot is entirely what feels good for you. You want the heel on the ground. And then take a peek here at your left knee. Make sure it's not going out. You should be able to see your toes. You do not want it to go out beyond your toes. And then from here, let your gaze come on forward. And let's inhale our arms forward and up. And then as we exhale, let them come out beside you like wings as they come on down, right on down, for your arms to hang down from your shoulders. And now let's inhale the arms right on back out like wings again. And we're going to keep them up overhead. Turn your pinkies more towards each other. You can be wider in your V. You can be forward more with your arms. You can bring your hands closer together if you choose. Bringing your gaze up, feeling that lift now. So the belly is engaged. There's length here. Top right buttock muscle lengthening down towards your heel. Good. Energy all the way up. Now think about your hands. Energy out through your fingertips. One more breath. And then release your arms on down. And we're going to straighten the front knee out. Now, as we get to try to really square shoulders and hips around, you can adjust this back foot if you need for pyramid, because we're going to start to ease our way forward. Now, you can put your hands down as soon as you need to. So you may want to use a chair seat, right? You may want to have your hands on the seat of the chair. You may want to have your hands down onto blocks. Once you do get your hands down in pyramid pose, you can readjust. If you're like, oh my gosh, I can't keep that back heel down, then go shorter in your stance. Or maybe you're like, I'd like to see what it feels like if I reach back farther with that right foot. But just remember, you want to let yourself feel active in your legs. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. You're trying to feel really flat in your back right now, like really flat back. So if you feel like there's a roundness up into the middle or the upper back, just imagine your heart melting down a little bit. And let yourself feel that reach back through your tailbone. Good. Now some of you might even want to fold over the leg from here. So if you like to bow forward, you can. If not, don't do it. Good. We're going to come back up, more parallel to the floor. And now you're going to need to adjust a little bit, because we're going to come briefly into a lunge, and then we're going to step our right foot forward and get our feet right underneath us. And then adjust to get your hands on your blocks or your chair right under your shoulders. And let your feet come a little closer together. Now, really get your hands under your shoulders, right? Because we're going to be doing warrior three, so you want to be able to have some weight there on your hands. Go to fists. If your hands bother you, go onto your fists. And then bend both your knees, lift your right foot up off the floor, and then start to extend it back into a warrior three. Toes are facing down. And just have one breath here. And then bend both the knees again, bring your right knee in beside your left, and kind of look at your knees, drop your head. And then inhale and reach back into that long warrior three, where you're reaching back through, toes facing down. We're going to do that one more time. Bend the knees, bring your knee in towards you. And then again, reach out into that long back and into that long leg. Now, you can bring your left hand up too if you want. You can reach the left hand forward. If you've got a chair there, it's heaven. You can put your hand on the back of the chair, right? Or you can not. Keep your hands down. Make sure you feel where you can. Good. Bringing that foot on back down to the floor here now. Bring your feet towards the outer edges of your mat again, but turn your feet out a little bit this time. So your legs are turned out from the hips, right? And then you can squat however you want. You can bring your elbows above your knees. Or maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I want to go all the way down to the floor because it feels great, right? That is not for everybody's knees and hips, we know that. So only do what you can do. Stay up higher if you need to. Sometimes coming down, heels need to lift up. Sometimes coming down into a squat, heels just want to stay down. But it's optional what you do. Good. And then we're going to release to come back up with the hips. Get our feet underneath us. We're going to rise on up to standing. Feel your feet in the floor. And inhale your arms all the way out and up. And on your exhale, as your hands come down, come on into that mountain pose. And again, let yourself adjust however you need. And just enjoy it, right? Enjoy how your body's feeling now in mountain. That's what's so fun. Every time you come back to mountain pose, when you're in yoga, it almost feels like a different pose, right? Your body feels so differently. Part of it is just accepting how it feels every time you come back to it. Let's shake it out. We're going to go the other side. So again, we're going to come into stepping into those warrior ones, right? So have what you need forward to the front of your mat. And then, when you think about stepping back, really focus on it. When you step that left foot back, you go, oh. And actually, it's not easy, right? It's kind of hard, to know the truth. So letting yourself, again, kind of feel how you feel there. And then you're going to push off that back foot a little bit and come back forward and step your way back up with feet underneath you. And even that is not an easy move. And then we're going to step back again. So let yourself, again, come back. And you can, if you like, adjust your stance now. So if you want wider, do wider. If you want less long or more long, get more or less long. And then check out that front knee. Make sure you can see your toes. Make sure your knee's coming over the center of your foot. Feel grounded in that back foot, open in the front of this hip. Good. And from here, we're going to inhale our arms forward and up. And then as we exhale, we're going to lower them on down beside us, like wings. And then we're going to reverse and inhale the arms out like wings beside us. And then when they come up, we're going to step. See if you can maybe look up a little bit. Doesn't need to be much. Let yourself, hands can be farther apart, arms can be more forward. You can have your arms up by your ears, but just make sure you don't have your shoulders way up by your ears, right? Good. Energy all the way out through the fingertips now. Again, be aware of your hands. Think about energy all the way through them. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. We're going to straighten that front leg out. So again, you're trying to get your shoulders and your hips square. And then as you come forward and you bring your hands down to the surface you want to use, take your time. And sometimes, really, when you do get your hands down, sometimes you're just like, this just doesn't feel quite right, and you want to readjust a little bit. So you can get longer stance, you can get shorter stance. Now feel like that. Now really flat back is coming into play. Like you have a yardstick in your spine, right? If I were to come and put a yardstick on your back, except for the little curves in your spine, you're actually really flat, right? Good. So that there's no rounding up into the middle or the upper back there, and you can feel your heart melting down towards the ground. Now, if you want to bow over that front leg, do. You can fold forward or not. Wow, good alignment in here, guys. Remember, your legs are working. Thighs are gently lifting upward. It's not huge in the legs. Good. And then come up enough now. We're going to find a little bit of a lunge just so it makes it easier to step forward. And come on into feet underneath you again. And again, hands can be on the chair seat. They can be on the blocks, but let your hands be under your shoulders where you can tell it's going to be easy to put weight on them, right? Feet a little closer together. Bend your knees. You're equal between your feet there. Now you'll know as soon as you pick that left foot up off the floor, if your right supporting leg is not in the right place, then put the foot back down and readjust where you think you need that right foot to be and come back up again with it. And then extend back into your warrior three. Toes are facing down towards the ground. Engage your belly a little bit. Take your time there, and then bend the knees and let yourself look at your knees. The knees are side by side. And then we're going to, again, reach back into that warrior three. Lengthen out through the top of your head. We're going to do it one more time. Bring yourself in with the knee, and you can look at your knees. And this time when you come back, if you feel like you want to stay there with your hands down, do. If you want to lift your right hand up, if you want to reach it forward, if you want to keep your hand on your chest, or, you know, some of you might even want to put your hand up on your low back and check your alignment back there. Make sure you're not lifting that left hip up. Beautiful. One more breath. And then release to bring the foot down. And again, we're going to separate our feet. And you can either put your elbows above your knees to release your hips and your back, or go down to your squat again. So if you love those squats, go for it. And if your knees and hips tell you no, obviously you do not want to do it. But, you know, working towards a split, a squat is a really, really good thing to do. And this is a good step right here if you did this every day. Letting yourself not even come all the way down, but just let yourself find that release in your hips and your low back up higher. Good. And we are going to rise on back up from there. So take your time. Make your way on back up. Bring your feet on together. Good. Shake out a little bit. And then just let your arms kind of swing a little bit forward and back. Real easy. Good. Good. And then just let your arms swing forward and bring your left arm over your right. Give yourself a hug. So you're releasing your elbows down. Let yourself move your head around a little bit. I like to tilt my head when I'm like this. Some people like to, bring their chin down, or even look up a little bit, or roll through side to side. Come on back with your head to center. Now you can just stay right here. You can stay here with your chin down, or you can head towards half eagle or eagle arm wrap if you choose to. So that's up to you. If you like to do the whole wrap here, you can let your elbows kind of rise up a little bit. You can let them sink down some. You can, just be really mindful. Again, if you like to move your head around a little bit, do. So that you find release between the shoulder blades on your back. And then let your elbows come on down. We're going to bring our arms on down beside us. Float them up into that T position. And then just bring your right arm on top of your left. Let yourself again hug it first. You might want to go more towards your armpits, right? You may want to go up and over and hold your shoulders up and over, or to the sides more. And then just let your head go. Let it feel good. Let yourself release however you need for your neck, your upper back. Make sure you're not locking your knees either, okay? And then when you get ready to decide whether you want to release your hands towards eagle wrap, you can send the backs of the hands towards each other just a little bit. That's different. You can keep going. You can put your left fingers on your right palm. You can even do that final twist of the thumbs to the midline. And then again, you can kind of play a little bit. Elbows can rise up a little. Sometimes I even like to rise the elbows up and look up a little bit, right? This is just, there's no right or wrong. What it is how it feels to you in your neck and in your upper back, between the shoulder blades on your back too. Good. And then we're going to release and let the arms come on down beside us and shake out just a little bit. Good. Walk around if you want to. We're actually going to come down onto our mats on our bellies. So if you have a chair, you can just flip it off to the side where you can see it's not in your way. And just come on down and make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on your hands and let it feel really good. And if that is not comfortable for you, you can instead take your hands out from under your head and lay with your forehead on the floor. Or if you need to turn your head to one side instead, do. And then go ahead and bend your knees and let your feet do their own little foot dance back there. Whatever feels good. nobody's looking, so you can do anything you want back there. And if you want to let your feet come side to side and let your lower legs do those windshield wiper blades, you can. Good. And then come on back down with your feet. Curl your toes under, or go to the tips of your toes if you can't curl them. And then just lift your thighs up, straighten your knees out, feel your tailbone now reaching down towards the ground. And see if you can just barely bring your head off your hands, right? So you're really feeling the backs of the legs a little bit here, but you're also really stretching out the bottoms of your feet. So with the toes there and the legs long, the knees up and the head up, you're in a little tiny back bend as well. Using your back body. Good. And now lower your head back down. Let your legs come back down soft. And go back to pointing your feet. And from here, let's release our arms down alongside us. Your forehead down to the floor. Palms are going to face down. That'll open your shoulders already, away from the ground. And then on your next inhale, float up into a little locust pose. So now your hands and your legs are up a little bit. You're reaching back towards the foot of your mat, towards the wall behind you, using your back body here. Good. And then we're going to release, and we're going to roll on down. Good. And from here, we're going to roll onto our right side. Stretch your right arm long overhead and let yourself roll onto your right side. Now, when you do, you want to feel like your body gets into a straight line, like you're standing in mountain pose, if you were standing up, right? So you can look at your feet, make sure you're not a banana. Make sure you don't have your feet back behind you where your belly would hang out. It's okay to have your feet a tiny bit forward if you really need to, okay? But then, think about pressing into the outside edge of your right pinky toe on the floor. Lift your left foot up just a little bit, like you do in mountain pose where your feet are a little apart. And if you can bring your left hand to your left hip, do. You may want to, you may not. You may want to hold on to the ground, right? So from here, if possible, bring your left foot up like you're doing tree pose. Now it can go below your knee on your calf. Remember, your knee faces up towards the ceiling a little bit. So if you were in tree pose, you'd have your leg turned out a little bit. You can bring the foot all the way up to your inner thigh if you want to. And let yourself just feel the foot gently coming into your leg, the inside of your leg gently coming back into your foot. And you can let go and put your hand on your hip, left hand, or you can stretch your arms overhead if you like, if that feels good. You can reach arms overhead. And then some of you, this is optional, may want to let your left hand come to your left knee and draw your left knee towards your left shoulder. Now there's a pose where that leg can extend up long, right? Where you can let that leg lengthen and you can reach up to hold on to your left leg wherever you can. You're rotating your heel forward, coming into Anantasana, it's called. It's the only really true sideline yoga pose there is. Really comes into the core, and of course, you can feel it in your hips, big, huge time. One more breath. And then bend the knee back in like you're going back to that tree, that sideline tree. And then stretch your leg on down long. Get your feet parallel again. And we're going to come back onto our belly. So roll back to your belly, but come onto your forearms. And come into a little Sphinx pose here. Hopefully it'll feel good. Right? So that's a line in your left hip. If you're not feeling it, I don't know what to say. But hopefully this helps release it a little bit. And I bet you feel fairly one-sided, would be my guess. So this kind of helps you even out a little bit, but of course it really makes you want to do the other side, doesn't it? So we're going to come on down. Even if you don't want to, we're going on to the left. So get yourself, again, arranged with your feet under you. And again, try to get like you're in a mountain pose. And if this bothers your left shoulder, remember you can grab a blanket and put it under your head and bring your arm down. Forward a little bit or something. In other words, you want to get comfortable for your own shoulder. And then again, press into the outside edge of your left pinky. Lift your right foot a little off your left, and there's you're going to feel. When you try to put your hand on your hip, there's your core. You feel your belly, you feel your low back, you feel your hips. Now to come into this, the right foot into that tree, or like a tree on your side, you can, if you want, let your hand come down to give you support in front of you. If you would like to stretch your arms overhead, of course you can, but just play with this. If you keep pressing into the outside edge of that left pinky, that activates the core body. Sometimes it's hard not to roll backwards, but if you really feel that working, and you let yourself feel the foot coming into the inside of your leg and the inside of your leg coming back into the foot, there's a lot going on. Now, those of you who want to go further, you can put your right hand down to bring your right knee in towards your shoulder. And then you can extend, if you want to, the leg up, rotating that right heel forward. It's an outward hip rotation, right? Don't force it. If you need to bend the knee again, do. You don't want to feel the cramping, all right? So be really easy with this. But it is a great hip stretch. It is a really deep stretch, so be mindful. We're going to bring the foot back like we're coming back into that tree, and then we're going to extend the leg back down long. We're going to roll back onto our belly, and right away come back into that Sphinx Pose. Remember, if elbows under the shoulders is too much for you, then go lower. Slide your elbows down like that towards your waist, and that way you're still in a back bend, but it's not as much. Most people, Sphinx doesn't bother them, which is interesting, okay? Now from here, if you can, clasp your hands, bend your knees, lift your hips up, come on into that half forearm plank. Even if you're just itching to go to a full one, try the half one. And pull yourself towards the front of your mat. Keep your belly really going. Once you start pulling like that, like you're really pulling yourself more onto the flesh above your knees, man, the belly goes crazy. The low back is really working. You can stay here. You can, if you want to do a full one, put your feet down, lift your knees up, and come into a full forearm plank. That is totally up to you. Forearms are pressing into the ground. Elbows are hugging towards each other. You can go as far as you like. You can stay in that half. Good. One more breath. And we are going to come all the way down from here and head back into pose of a child. So, yay for child's pose. Bringing yourself again, as you come into child's pose, if you need to keep your hips up, if your knees don't let you shift back, don't do it. You can stay kind of onto your forearms, rest your head down, and feel good right there. It's a nice release for the hips and the low back. And the buttocks, yeah? So, take your time. If you feel like you want to shift back more, let yourself release into your breath wherever you are. Feel the breath coming in to rise the low back, expand the low back in all directions. Good. And one more full deep breath, feeling that movement if you can in your low back. And then we're going to make our way to sitting. So however you need to let yourself come on around with your legs in front of you, take your time. Let them come on out. Shake out a little bit. Do little wiper blades if you want to. Little leg bounces if that feels good. Just let your legs go a little bit. Good. And then let's come out into our legs a little bit apart. They don't have to be really wide, just a little bit. And let yourself come just a little bit forward so you find a release there. It'll help release the hips and the backs of the legs a little bit. So you can go hands down. Woo, it's raining. It's really raining. Wow. You can't usually hear it in here. That means it's pouring out there. So take your time, and you can, again, keep your hands in front of you. You can keep your hands on your legs if you'd rather. So just let it feel like a release. Not like you're trying to push yourself into something. Let it feel like a nice release for the backs of your legs and your backs, your hips. Good. And then let's release to come up and bring our legs on back around towards the front of us. And then just let your knees and your toes face up towards the ceiling and bring your hands beside you for a second. It's like you turn into a capital printed letter L. So that's pretty hard actually. Staff pose is not easy. It's like a 90-degree angle here at your hips. Your hands just come down and here you are sitting up feeling like that length upward through the top of your head. And then just and I'm going to mirror you, let your right arm come out and up overhead, and then bring your left hand down and come over into a side stretch there. So let it feel good. You can turn this left hand up here, right hand up here however you want. You know, you can turn the palm forward, you can turn the palm down. You know, some of you might want to experiment with putting the hand behind your head. Just let yourself feel fun release there through the right side of the body. And then we're going to slowly come on back up and we're going to go to the other side. So again, as the left arm comes up and that right hand kind of comes out enough to bend the elbow. And again, just be a little easy with what you do with that top hand. You can turn it all different directions if you want and let yourself find just a little bit different feelings. Sometimes, you know, just getting deeper into your side waist. And of course, putting the hand towards the back of your head sometimes really helps. And just be mindful, let it feel good. And when we start to rise up, think about your belly helping you get back up there. Nice. And then let your wrist circle around, hand circle around, and release a little bit. We're coming down onto our backs on the floor from here. So let yourself come on down and bring your feet to the floor. Let your feet come a little bit wider than you do in mountain. Setting up for a bit of a bridge pose, but don't do a bridge yet. Just get your feet set. And then let the knees come from side to side. So you just shift a little bit from the top of one hip to the top of the other. It's like you're massaging your low back, right? Good. And then end up with the knees back into center and see if you can just do a couple of little pelvic tilts. So as you exhale, feel the tailbone curl up, feel your low back press into the floor, and when you inhale, you release that and come back to your neutral spine. That tailbone reaches down again. So come into a couple of those, just really releasing, letting yourself enjoy. And then finish the one you're on, and we're going to come down with our arms alongside us. If you like to bend your elbows into the robot arms, you can. If you'd rather keep your arms long, do. Palms down. But you're going to press into the backs of the arms. Your chest lifts up. Your shoulders roll under you. And then when you keep pressing into your arms and float up, it feels fairly easy. Sometimes when you get up, you even want to roll under more with your shoulders. And that's up to you. Be mindful. If you want to come 1 inch off the floor, do. If you want to come up higher. And you can lift your heels up a little bit. See if that feels good. To let your heels float up off the ground. And man, that kind of brings your awareness to your quads. And see if you can then just lower the heels down. Try to keep your hips where they are. And you can come down whenever you want from bridge. You may want to come down, release for a little bit, and go back up again. You may want to grab a block and bring a block underneath you and go into supported bridge, which is absolutely great, nice, restorative pose. Or sometimes having the block underneath you and moving up and down off the block feels like fun. So be mindful. Let it feel good, whatever it is you're choosing to do. And if, you don't ever have to stay in bridge pose. If you're ready to come down anytime, you come down. If you're on the block and you like to play a little bit on your block there, remember there are all kinds of things you can do if you're resting on the block. I mean, you can let your legs come up in the air, or you can let yourself come into leg lifts. Sometimes leg lifts when you're on your blocks feel good. Or sometimes lengthening one leg long to open the front of that hip, or whether you do both legs as long at the same time is really up to you. So just play. Take your time. I'm going to start to go around to get lights, but I'll come around to bring things once we get ready. But remember, when you come down from your bridge pose, you do want to bring your knees in towards your chest. And whether you feel like doing something more than that, like happy baby pose, or letting yourself come into another kind of hip release once you're down from bridge, if you need to do either a Baddha Konasana, happy baby, a figure 4 there on your back might feel good. Now, what's going to feel good for your Shavasana might be totally different than somebody else's feeling good for Shavasana. So, you know, the traditional lying flat on your back with your arms out away from you a little bit, palms turned up, your legs kind of reaching towards the bottom corners of your mat. That might feel great to some of you. You might want a little blanket over your head. And then some people, that feels like just not good for their backs at all. A bolster underneath your knees where your legs can rest, your knees right about on a bolster can really help release the low back if you're having issues. So let me know. And let yourself be really easy about accepting what you need to do to get more comfortable. Wave at me if I've missed anybody who would like a bolster. And just be with your breath. Nothing you need to do in order to breathe. As you accept your breaths in and out, and you watch your breath like you're watching the waves of the ocean coming in and going out, the quietness just comes in, really, almost without you realizing it. And of course, your mind will wander off to think. It's fine when you realize you're off into a thought. You can just bring your awareness back to focus on your breath. It's just a matter of refocusing back again and again and again. Finding those little quiet places where your body and your brain can benefit from all you just did. It's like a gift, these few minutes. Just allow yourself to completely and fully relax. breath will naturally, as you come back, want to deepen and lengthen. And as your fingers and your toes feel like wiggling and moving, let them, so that when you come on up into hands and feet, arms and legs, you just naturally move the way your body wants to move. Really take your time. You know, you could stay there and stretch yourself out long. You could take your time to roll onto either your right or your left side and stay there for a few breaths in a soft fetal position. Just enjoy the ground a little longer if you can. Just feel like the floor is cradling you a little bit, so that also appreciate gravity's holding you down there. Give your body and your brain a little adjustment time. So that when you do feel ready to rise up to sitting, it feels pretty good to start to feel your head want to get up there on top again, to allow yourself to sit comfortably once you're up. Of course, stretch your legs out if you need to, get a blanket if you want to sit on, just so you feel really easy to sit up, upright, nice and tall, so you find all that space in your spine again. And you can breathe easier once you lengthen upward. And on your next exhale, let your hands come to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Namaste. Happy Thursday. I don't hear it.